So that's a strange question. No, of course, I'm not going to plan to rest any player because it's a big game, and I think it's, for me, I said it before the first fixture, and I can say it one more time, that they have much better players, in my opinion, than maybe the league table shows at the moment. And I think it's going to take a while maybe for Ruben Amorim to bring this out of the players. I don't know, but they will definitely go up, and they are much better than the league table shows at the moment.
Against West Ham, brilliant performance. Mo Salah was incredible. Trent Alexander-Arnold was fantastic as well. He's 26 now. How much better do you think he can get?
There's always room for improvement for every player. So Mo is 32 and he can still do things better. It's hard to say because he is on such great numbers, but just before I came in, I was checking our game against West Ham, and I saw him at halftime, Mo walking off the pitch a bit frustrated when we were 3-0 up, and I think that had to do with him missing a few chances that he's not used to, missing chances. But Trent can still improve. I think I saw a bit of improvement already this season. So these players are top of the world, so there's not a lot of room for improvement anymore. But there's always a bit of improvement, and especially defensively, Trent, in my opinion, has made a step up this season. And I think in some games he was outstanding in every part of the game, but there's been sometimes a bit of an up and down as well. In other games he could have done a bit better, so it's about consistency for top players, and that is maybe where the biggest improvement for Trent is.
And we've all heard about the bid from Real Madrid for Trent. Have you spoken to him at all since then?
I speak to every player once in a while, and that is for Trent the same. So yes, I spoke to him. Yeah.
Hi Arne, can we just check where Ibrahima Konate, Joe Gomez, Conor Bradley are with their recovery, and if you're expecting to be missing anyone else this weekend?
Yeah, Joe is of course not in a good place when it comes to his injury. He's out for a few weeks, that's for sure. And Conor and Ibu will train with us today for the first time. So yeah, curious and interested to see where they exactly are. Of course, they've worked hard to come back to the team, but it's always the next step is always how do you handle team sessions. So they will train with us today, the two of them.
And the rest of the squad is in good shape as well?
Yeah. Of course they still have to come in, but we trained yesterday, and I assume everybody's fit, although we're in a period of time where some people get sick as well, but nothing heard about that yet. So hopefully everybody's ready to be part of, except for Joe Gomez, to be part of the game on Sunday.
You obviously took charge of this club in different circumstances to that of Ruben Amorim at Manchester United, but can you sympathise with the pressure that he's under as a manager, also taking charge of a Premier League club for the first time?
I think every manager sympathises with every other manager, because we all know how much pressure this job brings. That's not different for him than for me or for any other manager that works in the Premier League or somewhere else around the world. This is a job where there's a lot of pressure. This is also something we like. Otherwise, we definitely must not do this. Like I said, he's done so well at Sporting Portugal that and again, I think he has a good squad of players as well, so he will eventually bring the best out of them.
Mo Salah scored and provided 2 assists last time you two met. Top scorer in the Premier League as well. Is there a better player in the world right now than Mo Salah?
That question I got after the West Ham game, and I think it's difficult to compare players. So I think if I only look at my own team, not to other teams, but Virgil also has an outstanding season. But yeah, he doesn't have the numbers like Mo because he's a defender. So it's difficult to judge players in different positions. But the numbers Mo has at the moment speaks for itself, and mostly when we talk about the best players in the world, we talk about attackers. So it's been for a long time Messi and Ronaldo, where we spoke about. So then, yeah, if you then simply look at his numbers and the way he's playing, the work rate he has for the team, he's definitely a great player.
We had more time to train, two days in a row to train with the team. I think that can help us. Even the environment, of course, is a difficult moment because we are losing too many matches. We are going to face the best team this year, but like I said, with trainings we feel more the team, we prepare more the team, and we want to improve the performance compared to the last game.
Like you say, Liverpool are in brilliant form at the moment. What gives you the belief that you can go there and get something this weekend?
Because in football, one game, anything can happen. If you talk about the season, almost every time the best win. But in the moment, they are better than us on the context, but on the performance. What we have to do, simple things, and I think we need to improve the simple things to play these kind of games. And we have the responsibility to play to win a game.
On Monday, Joshua Zirkzee came off. He didn't get a great reception. There's been a lot of talk about him, and there's been suggestions of interest from other clubs. Have you spoken to him about what happened? Is he committed to this football club? What is his situation?
Yeah, his situation is the same the other players. He had that situation during the game. Is really hard for any player, but this can happen, and they understand this part of football. Sometimes you are in the good moment in your careers. Other time the things don't happen the way you like. So he's focused on. He trained very well, but we have to understand sometimes the players feel that lack of confidence, and then in the game they have difficult moments. But we have to move on and to pass to the next game.
Two players who've been doing reasonably well, Harry Maguire and Ahmad. What is their contract situation? Because Harry Maguire, his contract's due to, both of them are due to expire quite soon.
Yeah, Ahmad is near. Harry Maguire is going to trigger his our option. I spoke with him this morning, and I told him that he has to improve his game on the pitch. We need him a lot. And also he needs to improve as a leader, because we all know the situation that he had here, but we need him a lot in this moment. So we are going to trigger happily the option for Harry.
Sorry, is he a key player? Because obviously he was captain. Many people thought he was going to leave this football club, and then there's always been this uncertainty. De Ligt came in. Nobody was absolutely sure.
It's the same as Josh. Imagine Josh. There are moments in the career of a player that are different, and I think he coped very well with these struggles. And when you look our team, we are starving for leaders on the pitch. So he's a leader. He has to improve that part. He has to improve his game. So we are happy to continue with Harry.
Ruben, you've said there's no point referencing the January transfer window as a solution for Manchester United, given the need to sell to buy. And you've said you've had extended time in training now. So what solutions have you managed to find on the pitches here at Camp?
It's everything together. We need time to work on the basic things. Like I said, it's the only way. Of course, when the windows open, we can try to do something, and we will try to do something. But I think in the next weeks we are going to have more time to train, and we have to improve. That's the only way, because we had a lot of games without training. Now we will have more space to grow. But you can see that the context is worse in the moment because we had a lot of losses. So we have to manage everything. So the only solution is to work hard and try. We cannot change the last game. We can evaluate work on it, but we cannot change the last game. So let's focus on the next one and work hard during the week.
You said you'll try something during the window. Is there positions in particular that you're hoping to get help in?
I will keep that to myself. We'll try to do something.
And then in terms of your approach, there's been lots of talk about changing, and I know you can't betray your principles. Can you make a few tweaks, possibly adding in an extra midfielder against Liverpool?
No, I adapt all the time. We played most of the games with 3. So Bruno sometimes was in a different position, but he was on the midfield. So sometimes it's not a big difference. I know that people look for the three defenders, but I don't see the game like that. I adapt for every opponent because I think it's really important. No matter the quality of our team, we have to look at the opponent to understand what kind of game we will have. So I will do the same with the same principles. Like I said, we need time.
Yeah.
As Karen rightly said, a man who very rarely does interviews. He's done quite a few. He had an interview with Sky today that has probably got him trending already. Let's just look at his direct quote and what he said about his future during that Sky interview. And he was, I think, talking about the fact that he probably is going to be in his last year at the club, which... Yeah, there you go. There's the quote. It's my last year in the club. Well, it is because he hasn't signed a new contract. It doesn't seem like he's saying anything new. But for him to come out and say it, and he's been hinting, hasn't he? I'm more out than in.
Yeah.
Now it's my last year in the club.
It feels like it's almost like every month he's getting progressively stronger. As you say, before he said, no, more out than in. Then there was that moment after the Southampton game where he said there was no offer. And now he's saying it's my last year, albeit with a caveat. And that's why, as strong as the words are, and obviously it's a very big headline, I'm actually not too sure that much has changed in terms of the story. My suspicion is still that, and from what I've heard as well, is that it's him attempting to force the situation. He wants to stay.
Give us the numbers. I think you know a bit more than this. You're on top of it. What does he want? What's he wanting?
So the talk, though, I mean, it's been reported in the media, it's what we've heard also, is that it would involve an increase of at least around 100,000 a week. So we're thinking from, I mean, again, with wages, we're usually talking ballpark figures rather than specifics because we don't have the contract. But like, so a jump from around 300,000 to 400,000. And I think from what I've heard, Liverpool will be willing to commit to that for the first 2 years. But the issue is that he is 32. It's the kind of the commitment he wants, and I suppose the security as well. And he wants that for 3 years. And of course, once you get to that, and a player who will be 35 at that point, I suppose a project or a club as kind of detailed on this sort of thing as Liverpool, they don't tend to give out contracts like that because of the concern that players can quickly physically wane. They have seen it before. They've seen the examples at other clubs when suddenly you've got a player who's anchored to this huge contract that can't give you the same returns. And that's where I think why we're still in this situation and why there's actually a lot of posturing from both sides, really most posturing from Salah, given he's coming out and saying things like this.
But he's also doing it on the pitch because his numbers are unbelievable.
And you know when you're saying about his age, and I'm not saying this to objectify him in that way, but you know when he's took his top off and he's celebrated, that's also a signal to say, doesn't matter my age, look how in shape I am, look, I'm doing the stats, I'm doing the numbers. And we can talk about the club in terms of not wanting to, give players at 32 contracts, but how have they left three players to get to this position in no contracts is beyond me. But this guy is crushing it, and I think the way that Arne slot plays as well, less heavy metal, so it's less intense, actually suits Salah and perhaps players that are over 30. But I hate this thing of when you hit 30, it's always like downwards. The way the game is going now, that number is irrelevant. Yeah. And I think it's changing. People are breaking that time and time every season.
And look at the four of the most famous players of the last decade, or last century really. Yep. Messi, Ronaldo, Ibrahimovic and Lewandowski, all going well into their late 30s. And on that as well, I mean, Liverpool are so invested in the maths and the kind of the science of this. And the one thing I think, and if you reduce it to that in the probability, well, what's likelier, that they can actually raise goals or that Salah will drop off? I think it's less likely that he drops off, which is why it would feel like the kind of the safer calculation is to stick with Salah.
Even for Salah, who's been so consistently excellent, he has gone up a notch. He's definitely in the shop window. And just looking at that goal against West Ham, Liverpool had 5 different scorers. They were just in a class above but he was still the puppet master, the finesse, the nutmegs, the way he was assisting.
Everything, I did Generation XG 2 or 3 times on Liverpool Matchday Live. Every analysis I do on them, they've got so many good players, but it always pivots to him. It always goes to Salah, always ends with Salah. They're always trying to create him that 1v1s. Arne Slot's creating more opportunities for him. I think just in the style this season, he's obviously had great numbers before, but it just feels like he's still the main guy. And I think you can't replace him. You literally can't. And I think it's a huge risk for Liverpool to let him go. And I think that, I'm shocked really that he's going to leave.
Even worse news for Manchester United because he's got 12 goals and 6 assists in games against them. No player scored more against them.
Yeah, and he's another factor that kind of weighs over this fixture for United. And it's actually remarkable. And this sums up the 2 clubs of the past few years, and also Salah's centrality to that. If you look at the 7 decades before 2021, there have only been 2 games where one of Liverpool United won by 4 goals. Liverpool have subjected United to that 3 times in the last 3 years. A 4-0, a 5-0, a 7-0. And Salah, as we can see now, central to that. And with the way the form is at the moment, with the way Salah's form is, especially those goals against West Ham during the week, it's hard not to think it could be similar to the weekend. That Salah central to another big Liverpool win.
Honestly, yeah. Especially how Man United are at the moment. He'll be thinking happy days, had a few more goals and assists, I'm sure. But I just still trying to get over the timing as well of that news today with it. I think it shocked me a little bit because I was just thought Trent would go, but I didn't think Salah would. And he still might not. It's still obviously, and you're right, he maybe was trying to negotiate that, but still a little bit shocked at the timing as well.
We actually hadn't thought about the timing. When you mentioned it and we were listening to something else, we kind of were like, they're playing Man United on Sunday.
It's massive, like that rivalry. I don't need to tell everyone at home and what that rivalry is, and to have that and it come out as well. It just, I don't know, it seems a bit strange.
But it feels like that's maybe part of the kind of step up as well. As we said, when he made previous comments, one of them was actually the morning after victory over Southampton. Again, it's after the game. It's a game that isn't of the same magnitude. Whereas this, and even though maybe we're seeing in the sense of Liverpool, or Salah not necessarily looking at Manchester United in the same way he used to, it still is, as you say, it's the biggest fixture in English football. The 2 most successful clubs, the 2 best supported clubs, most popular around the world, with all of that history to it, and not despite form that can produce strange results. So once Karen brought it up, you think it was maybe a slightly odd time just to change the chemistry of the build-up almost.
Yeah. Is that rivalry more historic now? Because, the clubs are just indifferent.
It'll always be there, though, that kind of local animosity. And you only have to speak to the fans and who they most want to beat. Yeah. That never goes away. But you're absolutely right in terms of just... It's been a very strange historical rivalry in that they've never really been very good. For England's 2 most successful clubs, they've never been at the top at the same time. Yeah, so there's been very few seasons actually where they've even gone up against each other in a title race. I think the only one in the Premier League era was 08-09. And it's always been like one has been way below. But of course the big difference one has been below. The big difference this time is that one is way, way below. And a gap I don't think we haven't seen for decades between the 2.
Do you feel like it's more historic now? It's not Man United, Liverpool of old?
No, I think it always is. I think both, as you said, you speak to the fans, it's a rivalry. It doesn't matter, that rivalry goes back so many, many years and so many meaningful matches. So it's still there. Like you said, the competitiveness, I think there's a big gap between both of them. But come that whistle, you can't take away also what Man United have done on one-off games over the last couple of seasons. Yeah. There is a gulf, but they can step up. Will they? I don't think they will, but you can't rule that off. And I think even Arne Slot said, look, they are playing better than where it says, but
that is a slightly strange thing at the moment, because even if you go back to the 70s and 80s when Liverpool were dominant, United used to pride themselves on getting these, as you mentioned, these sudden results out of nowhere against their great rivals, and they'd rise to the game. And similarly, when Ferguson was dominant for 2 decades, Liverpool did the same, and they were always even games. But that's what's been so strange about this period, that Liverpool have really made their superiority count in such a kind of extreme way. And actually, these, not surprise results, but these moments when the team on lesser form gets a result, they've been fewer and far between. In fact, but the last one was really, and that was a shock in itself, when Ten Hag claimed his first win at Manchester United in his own first game against Liverpool back in September 2022, and how Amorim could do with that now.
Can I just say, Arne Slot has come in and had to deal with so much. Firstly, stepping into Jurgen Klopp's shoes, then being, at the forefront of this title race, and now these 3 players, the contracts, being out of contracts in the summer. He had to answer in nearly every press conference.
And he's so calm.
Yeah.
Like, I love him, I do. To do what to follow Klopp, who's obviously an absolute legend, and then just to come in and he's, made it look so easy. He's this guy, no, it's for him, he's just got to get Trent playing as good as possible, and he has, like you said, there's not a lot he can do. It's kind of the contract's coming to an end. Liverpool obviously would love to have him, but he's just got to keep him playing well and keeping him fit and sharp, and unfortunately it's probably not in Arne Slot's hands. He's just got to keep the player motivated and help him get up the table.
Yeah, I think that goal, obviously the deflection, we can all see it's a massive deflection, but he scored. The celebration the celebration for me was telling. Look at that.
Yeah. I mean, I don't really know who that's directed at, mind, because at
you, the media, and us.
The media aren't the ones that put in the bid. Real Madrid to put in the bid. But I must say, actually, on that, I do find it's very strange in terms of the way the window and the market works. I thought it was very odd behaviour from Madrid. I mean, it feels like that's the sort of move that might only serve to irritate people rather than make something likelier. The only time, actually, the only similar situation was when they wanted Kylian Mbappe in a similar situation last year, and they put in quite a low offer to try and get him out of Paris Saint-Germain a year before his contract. It feels like it's almost like a power play with the club he's at, because obviously Liverpool were never going to engage in that. They were never going to accept it. But then it just almost creates this extra strand to the storyline about a player who, as we say, is almost certain to leave.
But he can play in the knockout stage of the Champions League, can't he? So, they're super light on defence. I'm
that's
talking,
true,
I'm
yeah.
not trying to say Liverpool fans, but I'm thinking Real Madrid, if they're going to go for him, they've tried to accelerate this move and say, look, we might get him for nothing anyway. Do you want to? Do you want 20 million if you're going to walk? But they're trying to accelerate it with how many injuries at the back that they've got. I'm thinking we're in a title race in Madrid, in the La Liga, and we're light in terms of what we need if we want to retain the Champions League. But yeah, it's very cheeky though.
Yeah. Well, exactly. I think it's a cheekiness. Well, you're right. Madrid have had a bit of an injury crisis, especially with Carvajal out. But then one of the stories previously from Madrid was that they were initially not moving Alexander-Arnold too early because they're very conscious of the the politics around succeeding Dani Carvajal, given he's a club legend in that way. I mean, if we think about the politics in the Premier League at Madrid, it's a whole other level.
Yeah, it is a whole other story. Well, we've got to talk about Manchester United because 5 defeats from 6 games leaves them in 14th spot going into this match, and they haven't won at Anfield in 9 years. Not only are they in trouble in terms of the table and in terms of their form, but contract situations at Manchester United as well. Harry Maguire signed a new one, but all the talk has been about Marcus Rashford, and after the Newcastle game, Joshua Zirkzee as well.
Yeah, I mean, Zirkzee, whatever about the performance, it's impossible not to feel sorry for him just on a human level, especially the way he came off. But it's another element that creates, I suppose, difficulty and noise around the club. Rashford, I mean, we've had several headlines this week. I was one of 5 journalists on Thursday that wrote that he turned down 3 very lucrative offers from the Saudi Pro League because if he is to leave Manchester United, he's made it clear he wants to go to a competitive club, which may be difficult because with the form he's been on the reported wages, and given that United would obviously want quite a high fee, there's currently not that many takers, which I suppose is a reflection of his own form. But yeah, it is incredible. We were saying there about Arne Slot, how composed he is, no matter what you throw at him, and how he makes everything feel like it's okay. To be fair to Amorim as well, given everything we've just been talking about, to watch him there and listen to him, you wouldn't think this is a guy who's overseeing, or at least is enduring, one of the worst spells in Manchester United's history, because he's still so calm and assertive. And that, okay, I know there's been questions about what all this form means for him, but I think that's exactly what Manchester United need right now. And it's almost like they've got to radiate the idea that they've just got to back this guy. It's going to be difficult because there's all sorts of issues at this club, not least, I suppose, the state of the current squad. But he's someone worth backing in terms of how you actually restructure it and what you do next.
Wild that Manchester United are closer to the relegation zone than they are to the top 4.
Yeah, I think they'll be all right. There's 3 worse teams than them, to be fair. But no, it's not ideal. But I think he's calm because he knew what he was going into. It is a difficult situation. I think the thing with the manager, though, against the Newcastle game, since he's come in, he's been chopping and changing the team a lot. Now, whether it's been like a pre-season for him, he's trying to establish he can't play the same team because of their fitness. He's spoken a lot about that in his time since he's come in. But I was baffled by his team selection against Newcastle, that Newcastle outrun you. Their midfield absolutely dominate you. And he played a team that lacked mobility and then had to make that change so early on. And then Xerxes kind of, like you said, you feel for him because actually it was a tactical error, and this was one of the goals again, crossing situations, and the whole 20-30 minutes tactically was completely wrong in his team. So that was probably the one thing I'd say. But he addressed it in his interview there. He knew they got dominated.
In that situation, as a former player, like, I mean, we can all see what Amorim is trying to do.
Yeah.
And it's a bit like Pep Guardiola in 2016-17 in his first kind of underwhelming season at City. He's putting the idea in place and was saying, right, no matter what, we stick with this. If you're a player, though, and even if you can see that this is what he wants and you realise, you understand the reasons why he's doing it, would it affect you to say, well, I know you're doing it, but it's just not working?
Well, yeah, you kind of, it's not working because he hasn't got the players. His team when he played at Sporting, again, it was different. They were physical, they were competed. The team I mentioned against Newcastle, Eriksen, they're not going to outrun the midfield of Newcastle, Joe Linton and Guimaraes, who will just power through you. So it's difficult, but like you see with Ange Postecoglou, like you see with Ruben, like if you compromise your philosophy, if you compromise your style, you compromise you as a human being. Now what the manager and the owners have to do is say, well, we've got to back this guy with that philosophy, and if we don't, you're going to struggle and suffer. So you can't ever compromise yourself, and as a player, you've got to jump on board, and if you're not in that, you'll probably find yourself off. Yeah.
The one thing I have to say about that is, I was thinking as you said it, it does feel like I don't want to overly criticise Ten Hag or absolve Amorim too much, but it does feel like the decision in the summer that the new club hierarchy made might have been one of the most costly in United in the post-Ferguson era, in the sense even though everyone knew Ten Hag was in trouble and they were likely to lose him during the season, they stuck with him. But they didn't just stick with him, they also committed to signings that he specifically wanted. As an example, De Ligt. And it does just feel like not only does that deny any new manager a pre-season and a chance to work, it also almost prolongs the period of being able to overhaul the squad, because that extra campaign with more money you've spent on players that don't necessarily fit, and it's even less of an opportunity to overhaul. And you can see why. You can see now why Amorim was initially insistent on maybe trying to stay at Sporting for the season.
Mm-hmm. And so with all that we've said about United, what can they go and do at Anfield?
I honestly don't think the way Liverpool are at the moment, even with Salah coming out, he will back that comment up. What he said, he isn't going to go quiet. He'll back himself. I can't see him getting a result. I honestly can't. From watching them at Newcastle, especially the first 30 minutes, if you start slowly against Liverpool, you're not coming back from that.